Right. Will Lace ever integrate with smartphones? It's a decent question.
Yeah, yeah, we're looking at a multi-chain strategy. We if you look at under the hood, there's some React Native magic there. But there's a big conversation about what is the best way to go both multi-chain and multi-platform. And then also the issue is how do you deprecate features gradually? So the issue is that, especially with mobile applications, you're not master of your own domain. Apple and Google basically get to tell you, in some cases arbitrarily, what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. So they could say, "Oh yeah, you can have crypto, but you can't have NFTs, or you can have NFTs, but you can't sell them." In other words, you can't have an interface for a JPEG store or something like that, or you can have your NFTs, but you can't have a DEX. Okay. So if you build the product the wrong way, everything is really coupled together. If you build it the right way, then they're like switches and you can remove that functionality gracefully and it doesn't really have an architectural effect. So that's one dimension of it. Another dimension is that when you go with these universal frameworks like React Native or Flutter, they do a pretty good job on user experience, especially in the browser. But when you go to the cell phone, usually what you like to do is use some sort of native stuff like Swift or some of the Android SDK stuff because there's just great libraries that work there. Now, in the case of Flutter, because it's built by Google and Android's a Google, it's much better on the GUI side. They've done a very good job with that. But usually with iOS, you do need to have some Swift action in order to get a good user experience and take advantage of all the GUI elements. So there's always a question too of like how much do you want to do there and how quickly do you want to update the life cycle? And then you start thinking, okay, well, now that I have multi-platform, how do we do the feature push? When you're on a browser, like every 3 to 6 weeks, it auto updates. Awesome, but do you also push your release train at the same time for your desktop application and your mobile application? So we're still kind of working out what we want that life cycle to be like, and whether we're going to do some native code in addition to a framework. The other thing is that we have to make sure we get a hardened, great user experience with browser lace first. So there's going to be several cycles that run through to just increase the functionality of lace in the browser, and it's going to start looking like a very full-featured, beautiful wallet fairly quickly. And at that point, at some point, it'll go multi-platform, and then it'll go multi-chain, and add Bitcoin, Ethereum support, and other support. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. You
So
know,
many moving pieces. It's
yeah,
exciting though.
it is exciting because it's fun to build a consumer product. That's a B2C product, and I just did the while you were getting your mic fixed, the paper wallet, and that one feature is just magic. And when you get it right, it's just magic. You just generate a paper wallet, and you have an animated QR code. Like until I mentioned that, like half the people watching didn't even know animated QR codes were a thing. And now that it's a thing, you're like, shit, I want one of those animated QR codes. And
Oh yeah.
actually, talk about the NFT space. You can actually do partnerships and things like if somebody's doing a drop, they can do an animated QR code for their thing like Bored Apes or Clay Nation or these types of things. So you can have special editions and collector's editions and these things. And it's just a little flair. And that subtle small stuff really does make all the difference in a wallet.
Absolutely. I mean, it has to be an enjoyable experience just using it. Just small things.